find themselves as flesh of the earth. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. We show gratitude to the land, river, and peoples who have been fishing, hunting, harvesting, and gathering here for generations. May we learn from one another's stories so that we may nurture the relationship of the people of the Spokane tribe and to all those who share this land. All right. And with that, are there any proposed agenda changes?
I was going to ask if the executive session for personnel was related to our evaluation committee.
Yes.
I'm sorry, we're not going to need it.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll save it for next month.
Okay.
Okay. So we won't have executive session?
No, we don't need it.
Okay. All right, then with that, I will proceed with the agenda. So the first item we have is approval of the November 2021 board minutes.
I move we approve the board minutes.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
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 All right, any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion passes. And now we'll entertain a motion for approval of the November 2021 bills and contributions.
I move that we approve the November 21 bills and contributions in the amount of $2,809,346.19.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. And now we have the financial report. Nicole?
Thank you, Laura. Appreciate it. So for the library operations portion, for our cash and investments trend, in November, we received levy lid lift tax revenue as expected. That amount was $837,496. We closed November with available cash and investments to cover 161 days of operating costs. That balance net of encumbrances is $5,250,669, which does include the reserve for capital of $541,537. For our expenditure trend, by month end of November, we have spent and encumbered a total of 79% of our annual budget. November expenditures totaled $824,049, and our personnel costs of $534,200 make up 65% of that total amount. Additionally, we spent $128,276 on books and materials costs, $32,596 on our leases and utilities, $16,605 on minor equipment and tools, and $20,614 was for interfund charges. And down to the business office news. The repair work is now underway for the Capitol Branch parking garage damages. Additionally, just as a reminder, we will not have a financial report this coming January. Period 13 will be opening that month in order for us to continue posting 2021 related expenditures in order to close out the year. We'd also like to wish everybody a very safe and happy holiday. I know it's exciting coming up. It's one of my favorite times of year. And with that, I'd like to open up for any questions before I pass it over to Penny with the bond update.
All right, any questions for Nicole?
Was the parking garage bill pretty high? How expensive was that?
So it's going to be about $41,000, but our actual cost will be $5,000, which is our insurance deductible.
Okay.
So.
Anyone else? All right, thank you, Nicole.
Of course.
Penny, I think we're ready for you.
Thank you. Okay, so November expenditures just hovering right under $2 million. Just to put that into context, 1.2 of that went to Walker Construction, and almost the majority of the rest was for our furniture invoices that are coming in. a lot of activity with furniture matching up what's received to items that are on back order and then paying for the items that we have had delivered. November it was just a sequel to October, and frankly, the first 2 weeks of December is exactly the same. In the sense that we were contacted by a second state auditor. We're also working on the accountability audit for the city, the 2020 audit. This time, the selection was to review expenditures, and that entails looking kind of a deep dive into the expenditure, the invoice package, and they look for things like, is it legal for the items that we purchased, and are they supported? They selected the Leone and Keeble invoices for all of 2020. I think that was a total of 14. Sometimes those construction invoices, just to put it in context, Walker's invoice, I just looked at it last week and it was 81 pages. So these are very large invoice packages. Right now, we've supplied everything that they've asked for, and we're awaiting any further questions both on that and the other topic that they were looking at, which was Public Works procurement. I'm told that the audit is a couple weeks from being wrapped up, so I'm hopeful that things are looking good since I haven't heard from them. Some good news on the fixed asset front. The city was successful in uploading the January assets. There were a few little bumps along the way, and the reports weren't quite working right. But as of last week, that has been done. Minnie and I have actually devoted a full 3 months of getting all of the asset templates readied for upload for the first 11 months of 2021. And the reason this is such a comprehensive task is recall that we are purchasing all of our technology and our materials handling equipment into a single program, and we buy those in bulk, and then the IT department identifies serial numbers and model numbers, and they get tagged and assigned to the location. So as we bring branches into service, such as we did for Shadle and Liberty in November, we brought in, for instance, 200 rows of data out of construction in progress into service in just the month of November. It's a big job, but really happy with our ability to stay current. Here we are on December 14th. We did not have any contracts executed under the special authority, and I don't have anything left on the agenda to talk to you about tonight. So if there are no questions, I too want to express happy holidays.
All right, thank you, Penny. Are there any questions for Penny?
Hey, Penny, this is Casey. It sounds like from audits in the past, there's been no concerns, like you said. And then the special arts audit, that's the third one you said, is that correct? What was the third one?
So we have 2 audits. So it's the accountability portion of the audit. We're being reviewed in 2 portions. One is under the Public Works procurement. And that was specifically, did we go out to bid properly and tabulate the results, award the contract appropriately? That was the Public Works procurement.
Got it. I misunderstood. Nope. That answers my question. Thank you very much.
No problem.
All right, any other questions for Penny? All right, thank you, Penny.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so now we move on to the bond construction update from Hill International. Matt, are you with us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. I'm in my car today, so no video for now. Projects are wrapping up. Shadle, Liberty, and Hive, we're looking at putting together the last change order for each of those projects. That'll be kind of a major milestone. Downtown Branch is humming along. I think we've kind of turned a corner. The end is in sight. It's still 6 months away, but it just feels like we've turned a corner in terms of discovering new issues to be resolved and RFIs and things like that. Excuse me. So we're like I said, we turned a corner there and are doing well. The phase 2 projects South Hill and Indian Trail, the design team is working on modifying the construction drawings. There's construction documents, so we should be out to bid in about the third week of January, with bids coming in middle of February. So that's kind of the update in a nutshell. Any questions for me?
I'm wondering how much longer before we'll kind of finally say we've closed out Shadle and Liberty Park.
I would guess a couple months, believe it or not. Just we're getting there.
Okay.
I'd like to add on to that, Laura. Sorry, Matt. There is a step that before we can actually close out, that we have to bring that to the Board of Trustees for approval. So though there's closeout taking place on the ground with some of the subs and Garco, there's a number of administrative steps that we have to perform, and that it does involve coming to the board. So I don't look for that to happen any sooner than February. Do you, Matt?
No, I think it'll be at least a couple months.
All right, thank you. Any other questions for Matt? All right, well, thank you for joining us, Matt.
Thank you.
Now, the next agenda item is the chairman's report, and there is no chairman's report. And so we move on to the library executive director report. Andrew.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Great news to report on from last night. City Council ended up approving the city's budget. As part of that was our full ask. So this marks the first time in over 10 years that the library has received an operational increase outside of a COLA. So hats off to everyone involved, the board's support in working with us to find something that would be acceptable and really help us push our mission forward to expanded service for the public. It's a big deal, especially with all the different priorities out there in the community. We've been really working hard at the library, and we feel like we've got that recognition that, we are providing essential service to the public and really feeling pretty secure with that ask from City Council. So I know Kate's not here, but thank you to City Council for their support. In other news, a couple of neat highlights. We've officially entered into a pilot project with Spokane Public Schools. We've mentioned this a couple times with the board, where we'll be managing their collection at Glover and Shaw Middle School, meaning we'd be weeding, selecting, ordering, processing materials, and also leading on their library service technology. They reimburse us for the service. We officially signed a MOU last month around this. This is just going to be a really great experiment for us with the school district, not only in how to run a middle school library, which we've never done before, but also, it's going to get us some really great connections and information around what the student needs are. So obviously we hope to develop this relationship. It's a no-cost relationship for us. So it's pretty promising for the future of growing that partnership with Spokane Public Schools. Also, we received a grant. We partnered with the Spokane Regional Clean Air Agency to see about getting additional air quality measurement devices at our facilities. The logic being we're constantly tapped on the shoulder to provide that shelter to the public, yet there's only 1 or 2 air quality sensors in the city. So where are we sending them? Are we sending them to a place that may or may not have great air quality? So we're getting these on both the outside and the inside of the buildings. So if we're now we'll be part of that information architecture for the city as a whole. And this is part of a bigger piece of an equation for us, where we're hoping to build a civic information display that we'd house at the downtown library or the central library, that would compile that sort of information and power generation in the city, and population and computer access, to really start to be that data hub in the city. And that will be led by Shiloh, who you've heard with our performance reports. So we're really lucky to have Shiloh on our team to lead that effort. But I think that this is going to be a really great piece of our future puzzle too, as being that information hub. Really localized data that we're looking at here, and we're really excited to get that started. Additionally, we received $6,000 as part of Giving Tuesday from Spokane Teachers Credit Union. They've done this for a couple of years, I think, in a row with us. So we really appreciate that support that they've given us over the past few years. Also of note, if you haven't seen it, I encourage you to check out the video that we created on the history of Liberty Park. It's about 6 minutes long, but I think that the staff did a really great job in this. It was a great collaboration with our public service team, marketing, and really captures the history of that neighborhood. You can watch it on YouTube, our YouTube channel, if you get a chance. Our star spotlight for November went to Saul. He's in our facilities department. And he received his star for helping out with our automatic materials handling implementation. As you can imagine, some days we're running around kind of like chickens with their heads cut off. And Saul was able to step in and help out with diagnosing any sort of issues that we would have on site. It's a new technology completely for the organization. So he really exemplified that notion of all hands on deck and teamwork for us. Also proud to report, we successfully launched Folio yesterday. So there are still some minor issues that we're working out, but you can expect that with any transition to a new system. So we're continuing to work that out. We've got staff giving us feedback constantly, and IT really staying on top of it with taking that feedback in, as well as finding fixes as they can. And that's pretty much it. We're going to cover our parks relationship later on in the agenda. Any questions for me?
Yeah, I have a question. I wanted to hear about how we're going to staff the relationship with the school libraries.
So we're going to be, that's part of us with in support services. We will be increasing that staff for processing and things like that. Part of our move to in-house processing will help that along as well.
I have a question, Andrew. On the SCTU donation, did that come directly to us, or did it come through the foundation?
It came directly to the libraries.
Where we can do that.
Yep.
All right. Any other questions for Andrew?
And is the folio, the launch of Folio, and you say there's some issues, but is it usable right now? I mean,
it's usable. It's a better search experience, I think, for the public. Where we're having the issues is really how it interacts with our other technologies. Okay. Because when you're working in a test environment, there's only so much you can test. So we worked out as many of the issues as we could in that test environment. When you go live and you're dealing with these sort of third-party vendors, you never have a full scope of how it's going to react. So really, that's what the focus is right now.
Andrew, question. The air quality index thing at the site sounds like the tip of a really, really cool potential iceberg. When, how fast will that project move, and where can we track that? Will that be monthly updates from you? It just sounds like there's so many opportunities there, and you're on it. So that sounds really fun.
That's a great question that I'm going to call on Paul for, because he is much more into the details of that one.
So can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay. We asked for this grant that was given to us, and we'll be having the folks, the technicians from Spokane Regional Air Quality, they're going to be in our branches December and January. We'll buy them. It'll be about a 2-week delivery, and then we'll install them as soon as we can have the technology folks from their group help us. I backed off a little bit in December because of our folio introduction. We didn't want to overtax our technology team. But the plan is to bring all that data into one single source, and longer term also display that at all branches if we can work out a kind of an online system to share that data.
And is this something that we'll share on like the City of Spokane website? You know, they've got their GIS and their Spokane County mapping and city mapping and stuff like that. Will that be
Yeah.
Is that related at all, or did I just make that up?
These are called purple air sensors, and they're kind of the standard for community sensors across the country, but they were overjoyed. There was a big shadow on the South Hill. There's no air quality measurement there. And that's how we started it. We were going to start at South Hill, but we'll put them at every one of the branches. And the purple air sensors are going to be displayed, and we'll also share that data at each one of the branches. So
Very cool. Thank you.
And Casey, Shiloh works very closely with the city. You might recall that they actually pay, I think it's 80% of Shiloh's salary and benefits. So there's an intentional relationship there. It's something that we manage and we lead. So there will definitely be some interaction with other city data and sites. Part of the notion about housing it with the library too is that we come, I think more than other city departments, we come from a place that has higher trust with the community. So when you're talking about information in data, I think it's, I don't know, I think it's easier or more likely that the community would digest it with some trust when it's housed at the library. So that's part of the thought behind that as well.
Totally agree. Thank you.
Yep.
Andrew, one more follow-up about STCU. Did they earmark that money for any specific purpose?
They didn't, just however we saw best fit. It's very generous. They actually did it with the county libraries as well. I think that they ended up donating something like a total of $14,000 between the county facilities and the city facilities. So, yeah.
Excellent. Any other questions for Andrew? All right, thank you, Andrew. And let's see, I recall you said that Kate's not with us tonight, so we won't have a council liaison report, correct? So we will move on to the communications report. Amanda?
Hello. So this month's communication and marketing report is quite a bit shorter than the last couple of months. We had a little bit of a breather after opening the branches, launching the website, but we still had an exciting month. Our paid media campaign is underway. We showed you a preview of that 2 meetings ago, and that includes Spotify ads, paid digital ads, boosted social ads, door hangers that will go soon be distributed to houses around the new libraries, and a billboard that will go on the side of Shadle Park that should be displayed soon as well. And last month, the 3 digital advertising tactics drove 1.7 million impressions and over 10,000 clicks. So getting to see some actual great data on some of the work that we're doing there. One less restful part of the past month was, of course, our social media threat. And so due to much support and speculation, our social media stats were very high this past month, most because of that. We did not engage the public at all on, speculation or anything like that. It was purely for, information sharing. But we also got some nice engagement on some other posts. In particular, we had national interest on Twitter on our laptop dispensers. And I'm not sure how these two individuals, and there's a screenshot in the report, saw this tweet, but they're located elsewhere from Spokane and have big followings, and really got a lot of traction and interest in the laptop dispenser. Which also led to a spokesman article about the laptop dispenser at Shadle Park. So a lot of interest in that. I know you guys are going to ask about stats on who's using that. And the last stats I saw was very early on, and it had been about 20 uses, but I think we're just going to see more and more usage of that machine. And then also Karis O'Malley published an article in Computers and Libraries about Folio. Is Folio your future LSP? And the article was actually the cover story, including a photo of Rob and Gordon working at the Hive that I took in a quick photo shoot, which was kind of a fun change from our everyday activities. So that was a great highlight as well. And that concludes my report. It's a short one today. Do you have any questions?
Short but punchy. That was great.
Okay.
Nice job, Karis.
All right. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Karis. And everyone else that works to make sure our communications are running smoothly. All right. So now we move on to new business, and we have the amendments to the lease agreements. Andrew?
Yes. So if it's okay with the board, I'd like to sort of just explain the next three items within the same breath. Well, probably not in the same breath, but in the same effort. But I would ask that you vote on them separately, as one aligns with how Parks did this last Thursday, and they are three separate items, but they do kind of all go in together. So the first item, let me try to bring it up, is the amendment to the Shadle Land Lease and Use Agreement. You'll recall when we started installing the art, we were a bit outside of the original boundary of our original land lease with Parks. So what this does is include the additional 3,000 plus square feet, as you see on the map, and also has some language in there around the park board approving the process we took around selecting the art and endorsing the selection. What this effort or conversation led to with Parks is actually some revisions within their policy to apply to future use. So we're kind of trying to do two things here. One, rectify some clarity within their policy and land use agreements, as well as rectify our boundary need within Liberty as well as Shadle. The next item is very similar. It just applies to Liberty Park. You might wonder why on Liberty Park we're including that entire strip of land instead of just where the art is. And it's really simply around maintenance. It's much more of a clear visual line for our library folks to manage something like that than some sort of odd square. And the third item is to align with the remediation around Liberty Park and the tennis courts that will need to be replaced with some sort of recreational capacity. Originally, I think it was at like 175. We bumped it up to 225 because we were no longer going to manage the implementation. And now we're adding an additional 65 to that land lease to account for that additional square footage. Penny did the calculation, and it's really based on the same formula that we used with the original lease. So it's just an additional $35,000 for that additional land. Any questions on those three items? Park Board did approve, just for your knowledge, all three items unanimously last Thursday at their Park Board meeting.
So Andrew, I just want to confirm, you'd said 65 originally, but the increase is 35. That you said that 35. You said that second, but the first time you mentioned it, you said 65. So I just want to clarify.
Oh yeah, it should be the 35. Sorry, 35 from what was last approved. Yep. Thank you.
So on the maintenance, are we doing like mowing the grass, and is that what we need maintenance? Okay. All right.
Yep. So anything that we lease from them, we do the maintenance on, and that's how it was with the original Shadle Park lease, 20 plus years ago. We've continually been managing and maintaining.
All right. Are there any other questions for Andrew? Oh, I think you're muted, Jim.
I am.
Makes sense to me.
Okay.
We can hear you now.
The additional expense will come out of the bond budget, correct? And we can handle that amount?
Yes, but if you want verification, you can ask Penny too. Penny?
Yes, we have contingency to cover that. And so I would use this opportunity to say, this is why we really didn't want to rob all of our resources as things like this continue to surface as we're in our projects. So we're fine to cover this amount, and ultimately these monies will be returned to our public and through the enjoyment of our patrons in the form of park services.
Thank you, Penny. All right, any other questions for Andrew? Okay, so we'll start with the first amendment. I'd entertain a motion for approval to execute the amendment to the land lease and use agreement with the city, with City Parks and Recreation Department for Shadle Park land lease.
I move we approve agenda item 12A as stated.
Aye.
All right, I think that was a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? All right, motion passes. And now I'd entertain a motion to approve to execute the amendment to the Liberty Park land lease and use agreement with City Parks and Recreation Department as presented.
So moved.
And
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
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 Motion passes. And finally, I'd entertain a motion for approval to execute the amendment which increases the square footage and monetary value of the MOU with Parks Department for the Liberty Park remediation from $225,000 to $260,000.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, motion passes.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. And now we have the 2022 business insurance policy with Nicole.
Thank you, Laura. Appreciate it. Okay, I'll go through the background on this item for you. So our existing business insurance policy for the library expires at the end of this year, December 31st. Each year we work with Tom Blue. He's the vice president at Hub International, and we also work with his team to continue getting quotes with insurance companies in order to maintain competitive pricing among the various companies throughout the industry. The coverage we're renewing includes property, liability, fine arts, auto, umbrella, crime, sexual abuse, earthquake, and management and employment practices liability policies. After reviewing and evaluating coverages and premiums, it has been concluded that the best option is to go with a company called Philadelphia Insurance. Due to elements outside of our control, we don't yet have a proposed policy for the management and employment practices liability portion of the coverage. That is expected to be finalized in mid-December, probably an end of this week. And that policy will either be with Philadelphia Insurance or Hartford, whichever is most suitable. So the total 2022 annual premium for all insurance policies is estimated at a maximum of $80,000. So the action that we're requiring tonight is a motion approving the binding of coverage policies for the year 2022 at a combined amount not to exceed $80,000. I will note that this amount does not account for any unforeseen additions or deletions during the term of the policy and does not account for the addition of locations upon completion of construction. Are there any questions?
I have a question. Does the 80,000 include the management and employment practices liability coverage, or is that going to come to us separate?
It does include that. That's estimated to be about 10,500 at the max.
You won't need to come back to us with that.
No.
And just so you know, we started our process probably earlier than we normally do to obtain quotes in time. This is just one of those COVID delays. You know, you would think that how's it going to impact insurance? Well, it does, because insurance also got hit in different ways. So the companies are reevaluating how they're issuing and covering and those costs. So we're just kind of in one of those weird years.
And I will tack on to that. We were anticipating a much more significant of an increase to our last year's cost, and that did not happen. So we're very pleasantly surprised. They worked very, very hard to get us that kind of rate. So.
Any other questions for Nicole? Okay, I'd entertain a motion to approve the binding of coverage policies for the year 2022 at a combined amount not to exceed $80,000.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Right. All right, now our last one is the library technology computer procurement. Tara?
So this one is a big sum because our cadence of upgrades got distracted with COVID and the bond project. So we're at the point of going out and getting our quotes to upgrade all of the staff computers right now. So much needed upgrade. We're especially, right now such a great time of learning what's worked well with having a mobile workforce people out there. So we've been using the Surfaces, but we're going to go with something kind of the next step up. Has a little more power for people as they're out with not great connections, and people are using more data now and they need a little bit more for that too. So it's just a solid upgrade for our staff.
All right, any questions for Tara?
Which this comes out of our regular operating budget, I assume?
Yes.
And we are okay with that expense again, Penny, Andrew?
Yep. Yeah, one of the awesome changes we made a few years ago is we actually have a line item in our budget for technology. So here we go. We're using it.
Okay.
All right, good. Any other questions? Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve the purchase of necessary staff computers in an amount not to exceed $55,000.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
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 Right. Motion
Thank you very much. And the staff thanks you too.
I bet they do. Thank you, Tara. All right. Any other additional items to add to the agenda? All right. Did we receive any public comment?
Let me check. I forgot to check. None.
All right. Okay, well, our next regular meeting will be on Tuesday, January 18th, 2022. And that'll be virtual again, Zoom?
Probably, yeah, I would imagine so.
Okay. All right. And as we established at the beginning of the meeting, we're not going to have an executive session this time. So with that, I think we are ready to adjourn.
All right. Thank you all. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.